Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Ali, and in this channel I talk about coding, programming and AI, and everything you see on the screen is gonna upload into GitHub. So if you go to my GitHub and YouTube, you will have access to all the source code that I use, and you can find the link in the description box. So in this video, I'm going to talk about Aider, which is, it's not a new project, but with the new models such as DeepSeek, it can be very powerful and very helpful. And to summarize, it's like Copilot, but uh, it's in terminal. And honestly, I like this better than Copilot. So I'm gonna show how to add your DeepSeek model and your DeepSeek API key into Aider, and we are going to write few scripts with that. So the installation part is very easy. You just copy the pip install, and let's get back to our project. Okay, I have a virtual environment here, and I already installed it, so I'm gonna cd into Aider folder. Okay, so in order to enable the DeepSeek model, you just need to export your DeepSeek API key, and don't worry, I guess even this API key is deprecated. So I'm gonna create a new API key, right? So in order to create an API key, go to deepseek.com and API platform, and you will need to add some money into your account. So go to top up, and you can add as minimum as $2 or any amount that you want. So I added $5 on January 3rd, and then I go to API keys and create a new API keys. So I'm gonna create a temporary API key, and you can copy this and add it to DeepSeek API key environment variable, and then run Aider -- DeepSeek. So first it asks you a question that, so if you do not have a Git repository, it will ask you to create a Git repository, and if you already have a Git repository, it will ask that add .aider star and .git ignore. So I'm gonna say yes. Okay, so I am in my Git directory is this one, and current directory is Aider folder. So there are a few commands, like with a slash you can see the list of commands, and you can type help, so you can see all of the commands here. So with a slash add, you can add files to the chat. A slash architect, you can switch to architect mode, and then you can ask a question, you can switch to chat mode, and there are some useful commands here. A very useful command is run, so you can run a shell command directly without switching to a new terminal. So for instance, I can run ls. So it says, do you want to add the output to the chat? And I say yes. So one of the bugs with Aider is, although it told me that the work directory is Aider folder, but it's not true. So if I say create a blank Python script or empty Python script, and it says, it asks me, do you want to create a new file? So why it asks me? Because I switched to architect mode, but I can switch to chat mode. Okay, create an empty Python script. So it says, do you want to create this file? Yeah. So okay, as you can see, it creates the empty.py in my root folder of the project, that not in the Aider folder. So that's one of the bugs of this project, but I don't want this. So I'm gonna delete this. And you can remove a file here as well. So clear probably. If you want to remove a file, okay, so we have the undo command. Okay, let's comment this as well. The undo command, so okay, it cannot undo command because I changed the file manually. So let's ask again. And it commits the file automatically. So if you check your git log, you will see that the Aider will commit for you, and the commits are like my name, my GitHub name, and inside parentheses Aider, and my own commit name are without the parentheses. So I can do undo. So it undo the last commit. Okay, now I wanna ask him to create Python script in Aider folder to get a ETH smart contract address from. I wanna make it complicated to see how its performance is. So okay, so we have, I want to ask him that in the Aider folder, give me a Python script to get an ETH smart contract address from command line and crawl its source code if available. Okay, so it's going to create this script in the Aider folder, and it's gonna use the Aider scan API, and it's gonna handle API keys and basic error cases. So it asks you, do you want to create a new file? I said yes, and then it wants to execute these commands, and I say no because I want to execute them manually. So here is the source code that it created. So you can exit with here, and it is better to run yeah, it doesn't matter because my Git repo is not my Aider repo, right? So it's gonna have this bug. So I'm gonna add Aider. I'm gonna say use.n file because I don't want to put my API key here, so I say use.n file. It says, do you want to add git ignore into chat? I say yes. Do you want to add this into chat? No. It says, do you want to add this file? I would say yes. Okay. No. Okay, so it created the .n file into my root folder, which I didn't want because I want this to be in the Aider folder. And it also modified this script, but as you can see here, it didn't call the load.env OS. Okay. So let's put our everything. Okay, I'm gonna add a requirements.txt to Aider folder. Wait, we had an error. Okay, so it added this requirements.txt with .env and request. So we should be able to run, let's say, this. Okay, it says permission denied, so I'm gonna open a new terminal, go to Aider, and then Python contract crawler.py. Okay, it wants the contract address, so for the address we can go to Aider scan and verified contracts. We can copy any address. Okay. The reason is that I don't have an API key here, right? So I need to log in. And go to API keys. Okay, I can use this temporary API key here and run this. Okay, so it crawls, but I want, instead of like printing in terminal, I want to save the results on my disk. So I'm gonna say modify this to save the source code into a folder and called contracts. The file name must be the contract address. So it's pretty powerful, and as the name says, it's a programming pair, so it's not going to replace you, and it's not going to do 100% of the job, but you can use it as a tool and improve your productivity. So let's get back to this terminal and run this again. Okay, it says the contract is saved to this address, and you can see the source code here. The reason that I did this project with Aider was because I'm not familiar with Scan and like how it works, how is the API, what are the API calls, so I had no idea, and I did this on purpose to see is this tool really effective. And we can add more features. I'm gonna add more features. Okay, let's add another feature. So I'm gonna ask modify this to also store contract API. So API is a JSON file in the same folder, and the same name. So if we go to the contracts page, any contract, so it has the source code and it also has the API, which is a JSON file, and it's the functions of the source code. Okay. Okay, why you shouldn't use Copilot? So Copilot is free, and I'm sure that it can do this stuff for you. But Copilot is a VS Code extension, so if you don't use VS Code, or if you are in a server and you don't have access to graphical interface, you cannot use Copilot. But you will be able to use Aider because it's a terminal tool, right? So it modified, and let's get back to this terminal and run this. Okay, yes, okay, we have the source code, but it's a string. Okay, so as you can see, it's not gonna replace a programmer, and it has some mistakes. So the stored API is a string, not a JSON. So I'm gonna make it JSON and use for space indentation. Okay, so it fixed the code, and here we have the API and also the source code. So, but what if I pass an invalid address? Okay, so let's go to transactions and an invalid, like an address that is not a contract. Oh, oops, it was a contract. These are all contracts. Okay, this is not the contract. So I'm gonna copy this. Let's delete this stuff. Oops. I need to paste an invalid address. Okay, so it says no source code because I wanted to make sure that it has the error handling. So yeah, now I have an script that you can pass the contract address and get the source code and API, and it automatically added the .env into my git ignore. So yeah, I'm gonna delete this and I'm gonna commit either folder. So now you can, if you want to have access to the source code and everything, you can go to the description, grab my GitHub, and you have the source code. Thanks to Aider and thanks to DeepSeek. Also, I want to show you the DeepSeek usage. So on January 3rd, I added $5 to my account and I used it pretty much every day extensively. And I still have $2 remaining, 2.46. So you can see that I made 8,000 API requests and I consumed almost 17 million tokens, and it cost me only $2.53. So it's very cheap, and it's very powerful. So it can boost your productivity in writing codes, especially the codes that you don't know much about, and it has very cool features. For instance, you can ask a question without like modifying any code. You can ask a question, how this code works, and it can explain to you and answers your questions. So it explains every single function step by step, and you can change the mode to architect. So architect is like the chat mode, but it doesn't commits the changes directly, and it asks you before to confirm, so it's kind of cool. So you can switch to architect mode, and let's say you can so you can type here anything, and before committing the files or writing and modifying any files, it will ask your permission. So it's cool if you are working on a sensitive project. And in the ask mode, you can ask a question as I did previously, and you can explain your question without like modifying any codes. And after each message, it reports you like the number of tokens and the cost of the message and the session. So it's very cool. Once again, thank you for watching this video, and make sure to check the description box. See you.